Well, happy Tuesday and happy New Year. I hope you all have and are having a wonderful holiday season. I know it's time for most of us to get back to work, but at Best Girl and TWT, Tuesdays with Thom, we are slowly getting back into the groove. So today's show is pre-recorded as we normally do at the end of the year and the beginning of the new year. We pre-record a show and look back at the highlights from 2022. Today's show will be highlights. Who knows? You may even be in one of our highlights. We will then be live again on January 10th when our G-List guest will be Andy Burcham, the voice of the Auburn Tigers. Andy's a great guy. I'm looking forward to starting the year off with him. And so we'll see. But for now, let's look back at 2022.
So let's get to our G-List guest for today. Remember, Hollywood has the A-list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G-List, where everybody, it can be a star. Today's G-List guest is federal judge U.W. Clemens. Judge Clemens was one of Dr. King's foot soldiers. He led the group which desegregated the Birmingham Public Library. And I'd like to just dispense with the rest of the introduction because it'll come up as we go through it, and welcome Judge Clemens to the show this morning. Good morning, Judge. How are you?
Good morning, Thom. I'm very well, thank you.
All right.
Yes, to be here.
Can we just go right into it?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to know your thoughts about the upcoming Supreme Court vacancy, and how do you feel about that, and so on and so forth.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because the United States Supreme Court is, in the view of a lot of folks, and with good reason, the most important of the three branches of government when it comes to the implementation of civil rights. And at any given time in history, the Constitution means only what five members of the Supreme Court say that it means. So that every vote is important. We have, in the history of this country, had two blacks on the court. The first, Thurgood Marshall, had proven himself long before he ascended to the Supreme Court. His successor, Clarence Thomas, has provided the crucial fifth vote against us every time he's had the opportunity to do so. We have seen just in the last year the Trump forces approving two new justices who are more in the mode of those who have opposed civil rights over the years than those who have sought to advance it. And so this vacancy, specifically designated for a black female, I think is crucial. And what we ought to be asking ourselves is not what the candidate has done for herself, but what has she done for the race?
Let's get Barbara and Michael on. Barbara, are you out there somewhere?
I'm here, Thom.
Hey,
Good morning,
Barbara,
David. How are you?
Hi, Barbara.
I do, and David, your story is absolutely fascinating. I've listened to it several times. I listened to the broadcast of the NPR segment there, and every time I listen to it, I hear something different. So I don't really know where to start. But one of the questions I have for you is, you met your biological father when you were, I think, late 20s, early 30s.
When I was Yeah, early 30s.
Okay. And how was that first interaction? Tell us about that.
Well, that is its own little thing. I mean, leading up to it, I was doing a film in Florida. This is the real quick, and they gave me like 4 days off, and I had, a couple people knew me beyond just the acting there. One of the directors, so he knew my story up to that point, and then basically I was like, "Oh, you guys are giving me 4 days off." I said I might go and try and find my biological father. Now I had a address, but I had no phone number. I had a name and a social security number, oddly enough, but I couldn't. It wasn't back in the day. I couldn't verify everything, and maybe if I paid someone a bunch of money, I could have verified it was him. But based on the prior address, which is in Chicago, where I had grown up originally, I knew that I had a feeling that it was him, but I didn't know who he was or where he was. So anyway, I got a map. Someone helped me navigate. I drove all the way there. It was raining the whole time. I was, going through Georgia and, anyway, working my way to Memphis, Tennessee from northern Florida, from, like Daytona Beach area, Ormond Beach. And I couldn't find it on the map. I found a hotel. I couldn't find it on the map. I got up in the morning. I just go, well, let me go this way. I think this is, and I started driving. It was like this spiritual experience. And all of a sudden, I swear within like 7 minutes of leaving the place, I saw the street name and I just pulled over and started to go around, and I'm looking at the addresses and I'm like, oh my God, this is it. And then I stopped in front of his house. It's just a modest area in Memphis, Tennessee. And I was like, okay, I pulled across the street and I was like, well, Dave, you've come all this way. you gotta like,
right.
I didn't really have a plan. I was like, maybe I could be from his high school because he was a basketball star back in high school. I was like, maybe I could go and say I'm like, anyway, I'm like, forget it. Let me just go. So I went to the front door and I knocked, and there was a side door kind of around the corner, and that side door I heard open, and I was like, and I heard this voice like, can I help you? So then I like walking, like it was like the walking, and then I like come around the corner. And I see this guy with these big eyes, basically like mine. He's like looking at me like this. And I'm like, I think to myself, I'm like, if that's not my dad, I don't know who is. Like,
right.
It's like looking into a mirror as far as the eyes go, right?
Wow.
So I said, I'm looking for Keith Rash. And he's like, you got him. Who the hell are you? And I was like, oh man, this is. And I said, well, maybe remember my mom. Carol Provenzano. Excuse me. I take that back. I said, my name's Dave Palladino. And he says, didn't I go to high school with you? Because he remembered Dave Sr., my family. I'm like, right. I don't look that old. Come on. I was like, I go, no, maybe you remember my mom, Carol Provenzano. And when he heard that name, he said, I don't know if I can really do the action, but he was holding the door like this. And he's like, come on in, and like G
list here on Tuesdays with Thom. We have the G list, and so today our G list guest is Sabina Zaguzzi. Sabina, I hope I got it right. I'm working on it. Sabina is the founder and CEO of A Gift to Africa, LLC, a company that was established in Salt Lake City, Utah in 2005. It is now based in Florida. They also have a branch in Zimbabwe, Malawi, and soon in Mozambique. A Gift to Africa is a health and wellness enterprise that manufactures and markets natural and wild harvested food and skincare products. Let's get Miss Sabina on here. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you for being with us. We appreciate it. Start us off by just telling us what your company is and why you did it.
Oh, absolutely. I was just smiling in the background because I've done mental health in Georgia.
Okay, good.
And it was quite a challenge, yes. So I am. Well, I went to school as a statistician and ended up in behavioral health. And I did that in Ohio, in Georgia, in Utah. and then also nationwide and international. But somewhere in between there, I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. I wanted to do something else, something that would get me up in the morning and I feel like I'm making a difference to the world. So I established actually a Give to Africa after some much reflection, where I'm from Zimbabwe. So every time I would go and visit family, come back, and everyone wanted the stuff that I would bring, and they wanted to see, who made it, how can I support, and all that stuff. And when I was looking for my next step in life, it was just a shoe-in. I just thought this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to help women, not only in Africa, but even women here in the United States. So I started in 2005, as you just said. I started with very high-end handcraft items that I was designing with the women in Africa. And this was in Kenya particularly, and also South Africa. And I would do that, bring them here, and then sell to stores. And then somewhere along the line, this I started in Salt Lake City. Somewhere in between there, I just decided I wanted to do something in the food area because there's so much interest in health, and more so now, with the onset of the pandemic. And there's a lot of stuff that is available in Africa that people don't know about. We here in the United States, most people know more about stuff coming from Asia, from Japan. I mean, we know the matchas. Who doesn't know what a matcha is? We know you can go to Starbucks and we now say names that we've never said before. But that's because of just marketing. And there's a whole lot, I would say 10 times as much, that comes out of Africa that we are not aware of. And the problem being that there's not so much research done on those wild harvested fruits and vegetables, which we actually use medicinally. So that's what I do. I'm based in Destin, and I bring those wild harvested ingredients here, and I make product here in Destin, Florida.
Okay.
Today is Crystal Boyer. Crystal is a financial wellness advocate that serves as a client success director, for Plinquit, a mission-based company that builds technology to empower healthy financial behavior. So let's get Crystal on here, and we will go into a little more in depth as to what she does and who it helps and how it helps them. Good morning, Crystal.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. So tell us, first of all, about the name Plinquit. Did I pronounce it correctly?
It's Plinkett. So Plinkett. Like Plinko, except for Plinkett.
Oh, Plinkett. Who came up with Plinkett?
Yeah, so naming the company back when things got started, the sound that change makes when you drop it into a piggy bank, plink, is really, that's where it came from. But we wanted it to be an action, so we added it at the end, so Plinkett.
Okay, so tell us about what you do.
Yeah, so Plinkett is a goal-based savings app. And you guys have touched on a few financial situations that folks have. Everyone has unplanned financial constraints that come up and things that they need a little bit of a net, to fall back on. And so what we do is we automate that process. It's the pay yourself first thought mentality. Okay. How many times have you been told pay yourself first? So what we do is we automate that. They can take their any checking account anywhere in the United States and link it to Plinkett, and they just select an amount and a cadence of when they want that to come out, and then it goes into a savings bucket that they can access as needed. However, we allow them to do 5 different savings goals. So it's different than your traditional savings account where all those funds just go into one account. This one, you can separate those out. So let's say, unfortunately, you had storm damage and you're going to have to save to replace maybe landscaping outside or your windows or things like that. You can put a savings bucket for that. while still saving for your vacation next year or putting money back for medical expenses, things like that.
Okay, that sounds great.
The G list. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list. Now, G list guest today is Coach Greg Williams, the 6-time national champion equestrian winner from Auburn University. He started the program in 1996. He saw it elevated to a varsity sport in 2002. It is now among the top programs in the NCEA. And what I like about Coach, it reminds me so much of Auburn sports. He says that Auburn he talks to his young ladies, his players. He says that he wants them to have old school grit, hard work, and accountability. Let's bring on Coach. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
It's great to be with you. Talk to me about old school grit, hard work, and accountability.
Well, I think a lot of it starts that I'm old now, and it's hard to believe that you get that way. When I started this team, I was young, but it's just something I liked, and I mean, you made my day. When we were just talking earlier, you said it reminds you of Suge Jordan. I mean, you can't say something better than that to an Auburn kid. I did most of my growing up in Auburn. I very much believe in hard work and accountability, and it's worked for us. It's there's a lot of stuff that we still do with our team that it is baffling to some, and it drives some recruits away, actually. But I mean, we still do the work that we used to have to do, because we didn't have any support when we were starting this. We still do it now just because it keeps them with a vested interest. I mean, most anything built out of wood out there, we still do. I mean, they paint everything they do. And it's our new sport administrator, Janan Paul, who's also our SWA here. She got to see it firsthand. She said, I've always heard about it. She said, it's just amazing to come out here and see it firsthand when they're just doing it like it's nothing, that their own work. I said, well, it's not a slogan for us. It's real. It's a lot of people say protect this house, but I mean, they don't even pick up their own dirty socks in the locker room, and for us, they're building it, they're doing it, they're painting it. It's their place. And so when an opposing team lands and comes up our driveway in a bus, it's their house.
There you go. It's interesting because one of the football games earlier in the season, and if we win, we win. If we lose, we'll play again. I kind of have that attitude now. Right. But I actually got upset. I think it was Arkansas because there just wasn't effort.
Right.
And it was like, God, it really upset me. I guess I can say it pissed me off. It's like, come on, guys, give the effort. And I think that's what you're talking about. And Suge Jordan would be proud. That was his thing. Old school grit, hard work. We're going to go out there and nobody's going to outwork us.
Right.
Right. And
well, our G-list guest for this week is Rashida Leroy, the CEO of LRY Media. And as I've said before, she has done a phenomenal job with the opening ceremonies for the World Games. We're so proud of her. And she's also responsible for the merchant marketplace and will be responsible for the closing ceremony. So let's bring on our G-list guest for this week.
Rashida Leroy.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah. Thank you for what you're doing. It's great.
Thank you.
You guys are wonderful.
Thank you.
I mean, I can ask you a gazillion questions, but I'm just going to start off and say, tell me how you're feeling this morning. How's it? I mean, I know it's going well, but just tell us about are you as excited as we are?
I really am. Deep down inside, I'm really excited. I am very energized today. The opening ceremony was a great show, great experience, great opportunity for us. A lot of work people keep asking, hey, when did you all start planning? Like a few weeks ago? And I'm like, no, 2 years ago we started planning. So it's been really excited, but today I'm energized. We have a lot of team members and crews who are reassembling for the closing ceremony, really ready to close the World Games out with a bang. So we're just ready. That's probably, if somebody said, give me your adjective today. I don't know if ready is an adjective, but if it is or is not, my word today is ready. We're ready.
I'm from Birmingham, but I'm in and out a good little bit, and I've been seeing the signs for a couple of years. I even got my cap, and I don't have it here with me, but it's in the other room. But I got my World Games cap because I'm very, very proud of what's going on. I just think, tell me, how'd you get into this business?
Absolutely. So, how I got into this business, I have been planning events probably for 15, 20 years now. I used to own a magazine. It was called Upgrade. And that's actually how I started planning events, because we needed to find ways to promote that business. At the time, I didn't really know it was event planning. It just felt like this is what I need to do in order to be successful with this particular business that we were in. I got an opportunity to then work in corporate America as a corporate event planner. And then in 2017, I decided that, hey, that entrepreneurial spirit just would not go away. And so how can I take these skills that I've learned being here at this company with all of the things that I had done prior to that? And that is where LRY Media Group came from. And so in 2017, started out on my own. And as they say, the rest is history. We submitted a bid in 2019 for the World Games. And I think what a lot of people don't know is it had to be probably around 2015 when the city actually went after the World Games. 2017 was really when we started to hear a lot of the buzz that this thing is really going to happen in Birmingham. And it was 2019 when the opportunity came for us to present a proposal to produce the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony. So we have been at this for a while. That's also, remember COVID came through. So for a whole year, we had to plan virtual and just really, pull our teams together through such an adverse time. And July 7th came on us so fast, it seems. and we were in it.
Good morning.
Good morning. How we doing?
All doing good well. Here. Glad to be here.
Okay. So, and I have to say that Cynthia and I went to Auburn together, had classes together. I think we're in some kind of Hall of Fame for actually having two blacks in a class at that time.
That's probably true. Yes.
So, who's going to kick this off? Whose idea was the colonization of democracy?
Well, I was talking to
Southernization. I'm sorry.
Southernization of America, the story of democracy and the balance. Yeah, I was talking to Randall Williams, who is the editor-in-chief at New South Books.
Okay.
And he said we need a short book about our current political moment and the influence that the South has had on the country as a whole, both for good and for bad. And he said, would you like to write such a thing? And I said, yeah, that sounds worthwhile, but I'd like to include my friend Cynthia Tucker in that and get two perspectives from friends and colleagues at the University of South Alabama, but two native Alabamians, one white, one African American, and put our minds together a little bit and talk about this whole subject. And so Randall was very excited about adding a Pulitzer Prize winner to the project. He's no dummy, and so we did, and we had a really good time doing it. We found that we worked really well together, and found that our perspectives were very similar, really almost identical on what's going on in the country.
Okay. Did you have anything that you guys disagreed on?
Not really.
It's interesting to think about the fact that Fry and I grew up on opposite sides of the color line. I'm old enough, Thom, as you know, to remember Jim Crow. Much of my education in the early years, elementary and middle school, was segregated. I remember, white and colored restrooms and doctor's offices and water fountains, even as ridiculous as that is. And Fry grew up in a privileged white background, I think early on, not really recognizing what was going on the other side of the color line. But, as he got older, his eyes were open through his experiences. And we've come to a place where we see the South and the nation, quite frankly, in much the same way. Our perspectives are very similar on what the South has been, what it has offered the nation, as Fry just said, for good and for ill, and what it can offer the nation going forward.
Up in the Kitchen came about with Sister Strut organization, well, Brenda Brown Bosom Buddy. And eventually I went from being invited to speak to about 2 years later, I ended up chairing the Sister Strut event, I think in 2017 and 18. And so when I was a chairperson of Sister Strut, and what came to my mind is trying to provide healthier meals when women are going through treatments in particular, and also for people in general, for caretakers such as myself, caregivers. So in 2019, I think, Sister Clarissa Kente, who was the host of the Strut in the Kitchen cooking show, I was about to do a cooking show with just me and she and I didn't feel comfortable going in the kitchen with her with strutting in the kitchen. And so in that moment, I got quiet and there you go again, manning up in the kitchen was revealed to me. And I emailed her the title, and she sent the message back, wow, that's great. So that's how manning up in the kitchen came about. Wow. Because I didn't want to be on the show as the cook strutting in the kitchen, you know what I mean? Because y'all be laughing at me right now. Strutting in the kitchen show, you know? But that's how it came about. And we will be starting back some of our cooking shows real soon. How to Eat to Live is a book by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's more invaluable now with as many health conditions going on prior to COVID, but especially now as far as building up our immune system and eating this proper food at the proper time. So that's how Manning Up in the Kitchen came about.
That's great, man.
Yes.
That's great. Barbara, Michael, go ahead, brother Tracy.
I have to say this. One day, my wife told me that she really couldn't cook as much. She took pride in cooking for her family, but she had got weak, and she said, "Come on, go in the kitchen. I want to show you how to cook a few things until I'm able to do it again." And so I had my pen in my pad. She made sure I had my pad and my pen. I was writing down the navy bean soup recipe, the whole wheat cream of wheat muffins, and but I felt intimidated because I'm a griller. I like to grill, but that kitchen was something on a whole nother level. I felt intimidated. And then, but when she said these words, she said, "Well, cooking is very spiritual. So I'm giving you the recipe, but you don't know how to add a little bit of this. You add a bit of that. You know, you take it on for you." And that really calmed me down. You know what I mean? And so now the kitchen is not just a kitchen; it's a laboratory. And I find a lot of peace in that laboratory because there should be something in our cabinets with the herbs and spices and with the food that we feed our bodies that could heal almost anything that we're going through, diseases. We can heal ourselves with proper nutrition.
Well, good morning, Gloria. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
And I want to say congratulations on a successful event this past weekend at Auburn. It was outstanding. My question is, what are the next steps for the James Owen Foundation? It seems like you started the first one in 2019. There was a big jump for this one. So what's the next step?
The next step is to, and forgive me, I've still been talking a lot, so a little hoarse, but our next step is to continue to build up on this year. There were some amazing things that came out of this breakfast. I mean, to already have a sponsor for next year, it's amazing. The resources from this breakfast will enable us to give more scholarships, be more valuable in the community. So it's just to continue to build upon and spread the word that the James Owens Foundation is available to assist. There were many things that we could not do due to COVID, and it affected our resources because that Saturday, March 28th, when the country was shut down, we had a walk, and also I had a big sale going on in my house because I was planning to sell it. So it canceled out many things. So for the next 2 years, we really could do very much in the form of fundraising. So we began to continue with the Memorial Walk, which is an annual event. It will be the fourth Saturday in March. Just so happened this past year was March 26th, the date that James passed. So, and we had great participation from the university. Students came out and we got a chance to meet. So we are becoming more known in the community, because when I say we, when James and I and the family moved back to the Auburn-Opelika area, he was called into the ministry in 1996, and his church was up in Dateville, Alabama. So we wasn't in the Auburn-Opelika area much. So, and a lot of people are not familiar with James Owens. And that's the story we wanted to get out, not only about James Owens, but all of the trailblazers who have impacted to bring Auburn to its present path. Because when you start with one, and now you're more than 80% of the team, that speaks volume. It took 50 years, but I want the people to know the path that has got them to where they are.
The A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, we have the G list. Our G list guest today is Hina Nauman. Hope I pronounced that right. And it's evening where Hina is, which is Pakistan. So good evening, Hina. How are you? Are you there?
Hello. Thank you, Thom. Yeah, good morning to you. It's good evening over here and good morning to you guys.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on this wonderful show.
Okay. I tell you what, before I start asking you any questions, you got anything you just want to volunteer right off the top?
Well, I think I'll go with the show. Talk with you guys.
Okay. So,
I can just voluntarily show the book cover, which I have. This is the book cover.
Oh, cool. So we started out with how naughty can one child be? Hina is a child
Yeah.
writer. Did you ever put lizards in the food to end some boring adult party? I don't think I was able to get away with that. Did you ever wear a secret ink ring to mess with kids who annoy you? Imagine a kid like this. And then imagine a kid like this makes her naughtiness double with a perfect addition of a best friend forever in her life. Tell us about your book.
Well, my book is a funny nature-related e-series, and it's a middle grade series, and it aims to connect children with the nature around them because I feel that nature is the best emotional healing. Because at the age of 7 till 12, children starts having feelings. They start having the depression, anxiety, love feelings in themselves, and this is the best time we should tell children how to deal with these feelings in their life, and when they grow up they won't become immature adults, and the best emotional healer for any part in our lives is the nature. So we should always tell children how to stay connected with the nature, and this is the part of the life when they should know how to connect with the nature. Take these things as signal. If you are having a little depression in your life, why not take this as a signal to connect with the nature? Why not go out to the parks, look at the birds, take a break for a month for gardening, like this. Slowly have a change of vision in your life. Taking the things, looking at the things from a very different angle. This is how the motive of my series, to tell the children how to connect with the nature and to accept everyone in the world and especially their own selves and their feelings.
So you have children of your own?
You have children? Yeah, I have 3.
Did you model this book after them?
yeah it's a funny book because I believe that whatever you write for children, it should be humorous because they should love their childhood is the best part of their life. It should be memorable, it should be lovable, so it should be funny for whatever you write for children, that whenever they remember their childhood they would say, oh, we read Hannah the Guardian of Nature and it was so much fun reading that book in our childhood. So that is why I believe that it should be funny. And when I was writing it in a naughty way, I discussed it with my son also, and he would say, no, Mama, I think it should be changed. If it would be like this, I would laugh more loud, and I would laugh with my tummy hurting. I would say, my tummy is hurting. It's laughing so hard with this. So this is how I put up with this naughtiness in my books, in my writings.
We have another question from a viewer. Antley asked, Mr. Jones, in your opinion, what is the popular version of Silent Night? He said he would think that it's the Temptations version.
Oh, okay.
What's your opinion?
It's all based on ethnicity. It depends upon what you mean. What do you think is probably the best version of Silent Night? Yes, I say Temptations was great. It's always a lot of fun. You can't go wrong with it. That was 1970 when they did the version. That version is a very popular one. But believe it or not, there have been a lot of others. I would say I would even go further to Nat King Cole's 1961 version. That was pretty good.
Yes.
I thought that here's the thing that was really the most haunting version I've ever heard was 1969's Judy Collins version, because it was a cappella.
Oh, wow.
And here's the thing that people need to understand about Silent Night. When it was originally written in 1818, the reason why the song was even written in the first place is because the famous church that was in Salzburg broke down, and Franz Gruber and Franz Gruber and Joseph Moore, who actually wrote the song, had to go back and had to recreate it because it was supposed to be this big, elaborate, a lot of strings, a lot of instrumentation, and they just had to make it simple. So the original song that was sung in guitar. It was voice and guitar.
Oh, wow.
So it was intended to be actually a quiet, intimate song. It was never meant to be over the top. If you hear anybody doing a song that's completely over the top, they're doing it completely wrong. It was never intended. But yes, I would say ethnicity. I would say in the Black American community, it would definitely be the Temptations. I mean, it's always popular. If everyone else, especially my non-melanated brothers and sisters, I'd probably say the best Silent Night would probably be. I would definitely say it would be Bing Crosby's version because it was very simple.
Okay. Great.
Michael, how are you this morning, man?
Oh, I'm really good, Thom. I'm just waking up. I have to say, Walt, the feedback on you yesterday came back really good. You're gonna steal it, baby. You're gonna steal it. I'm looking forward to this, Tom. We had a great rehearsal yesterday. It's a big day for us because I've been working on this show for 2.5 years, and most of that time you've been in Fort Walton and I've been in Los Angeles or Birmingham or wherever, but we haven't been able to do it together. So to be in the space together and and explore this beautiful theater, man, most beautiful theater I've ever worked in, it's been nice.
I got to ask you about this, and this is one of
What?
the things that has come up since we've been rehearsing. Can you tell the audience about working with Clint Eastwood? You knew I was going to ask you that.
Oh, man. Listen, I don't know of an actor who doesn't want to work with him, but I wanted to work with him really bad, and I saw all these roles going by, all these things. And I thought, I could have done that. I wish I'd done that. And when I finally got to work with him, right, it's in a film called J. Edgar, and Leonardo DiCaprio is playing J. Edgar, and I'm playing this old senator from Tennessee, McClellan. He was the longest serving senator of that state. Oh, horse trader is what he was. So we're in a Senate conference room, and I'm just giving J. Edgar hell, but Leonardo was out there, and Dr. Clint Eastwood is over to my right directing. So I'm looking at Leonardo, except my head keeps looking down the dice because I want to see Clint Eastwood, man. He's a movie star that I grew up with, And I love this about him. He never says action or cut. He doesn't start, well, action and cut. He never liked it as an actor. So I don't know how he gets his camera and his sound guys up and running, but Clint just walks up on you and says, you can begin. Yeah, you can begin. Okay. So you start the scene, right? And then you do the scene. And then the dialogue runs out. And you're sitting there thinking, is that my line? Did I drop a line? Is there something else? You don't say it out loud, but your brain is just,
because he doesn't tell you to cut.
He doesn't say cut. So you just go. And he's recording all that. He's got that all. He's filming every bit of it, right? And then he'll after a little bit, he'll just reach in and go, you can stop. And he'll take that footage that he's got of you thinking, right? You're thinking, you're alive, and he'll put it wherever he wants it. He'll pepper it in there for a reaction shot here, a reaction shot there. Yeah, he's a masterful filmmaker and fast, man. He doesn't fool around. You may just get one pass with Clint. Okay. You don't fool around.
Okay, my closing commentary for today, or as I see it, I sincerely hope you had a good holiday season. I surely did. In the film and television world, we learned that less is more, and I've learned that about life. As I mentioned on the last show before the break, I'm always excited about the Christmas season, the holiday season. Christmas is always exciting when and where I grew up. I managed to keep that excitement year after year. Don't do nearly as much running around as I did as a younger man, but that spirit of a sunny Christmas or New Year's Day or just a holiday season, regardless of the temperature, has stayed with me for the run of my life. I just remember the streets were full of new and colorful bicycles rolling up and down the street, children on skates, new baby dolls, footballs. Yes, that image and feeling is still with me. This year, we watched our favorite Christmas movies again. It happened on Fifth Avenue. That's one of my favorites for sure. A Christmas Story. It's a Wonderful Life. And looking at it from my perspective, yeah, it is a wonderful life. And that's how I see it in the year 2023. That's our show for today. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. Thank our G-List guests from last year. We appreciate you all. Thank you. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc., who makes all things possible. Thank Michael, Barbara, Emily, and Joyce, who have all been with us from the beginning. Let's roll in 2023. And a special thanks to Shantia Jones, who helped to put together this special New Year's version of TWT. And to all of you out there, let's have a great year. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.